please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at how an individual, Darksydephil, of course it is, handles criticism. We all get it as creators, and it's vitally important that we handle it in a more professional manner. Now of course, if we make a career out of being reactive, volatile, angry and aggressive, ungrateful as well, we'll insert just for Phil, then of course maintaining a consistent stance for the sake of the brand means that we are going to have to put on a show, right? It seems only right. But if we are an internet lolcow, how one handles the criticism may well lend credence to the often held belief of the individual, in the case of Phil, ungrateful and arrogant, too prideful to accept when he is in the wrong. When you're a lolcow, you also can't win, because even if you did make definitive change, the problem you have is by simply changing once, that doesn't mean you've changed, it means you've done something different briefly. Change is a commitment, and that requires something that many within the court of public opinion do not like: time. Also, to use time to definitively change one's habits and ways, negative as they may well be considered, does in some way potentially run the risk of harming the low end of our income. I say our, I'm not a lolcow yet, but Phil is. He has been for a while. He's one of the all-time greats. He's not a goat. No. But when he talks, we do like to let him cook. I have learnt some new young speak, everyone. We will allow him to cook. Take it away, Phil.
Continuing on. You can improve your content by not insulting the people that you ban and simply continuing the game or the topic discussion. If you get more done, you would probably come across as less bothered. People mess with you because they know you'll go on and on about how trolls are idiots. Sure, it might be true, but that's what they want to laugh at. A recent example is what happened with the steak conversation. The reactions to the trolls are what keeps them going.
In yesterday's video, one of the things Boogie said was that he loves the clips of you going off. Because you, failing at games, Zelda included, which is hilarious, you going off on your audience and those that troll you, banning people and then letting it dictate how you proceed as a streamer, is arguably one of the biggest reasons why you are as successful as you are. How we measure success is subjective, I know, but in the context of Phil, he's been here a while, long while in fact, and he's done incredibly well from it. Whether it be the e-begging or the simply being the internet's worst gamer, he has managed to make a career out of sucking. And when people tell him or constructively aid him, he is not the best at dealing with it. He's reactive to his audience, he's ungrateful to them as well. And that leads to more negativity in his own live chats. It's why he needs people on his shows to get the numbers up every so often, because he knows there's a coin to be turned there.
So you might be saying, what is the steak conversation? I don't even remember. I remember that was a dumb meme that the detractors latched onto.
I know you stream quite a bit. I'm well aware that you talk a lot. I'm well aware that you're invested in the games and of course promoting your donation bar stuff. But remembering vaguely one aspect of it means you're not really much of an authority in the commentary side of why you act the way you act. It also shows what you've chosen to hyper-focus on, rather than the overarching point that could actually be a behavioural change, something which at your stage of your life I doubt is even possible.
So allow me to focus on this for a second, okay? Here you go.
I'm wondering if we're about to get some deep philosophical conversational talking points like Jerry Springer, or if we're about to get some mad education from somebody who may not have finished his. It's a real toss-up, guys. It really has you wonder. But the great thing about what we're about to learn from the Phil is that the king, while speaking from a position of lordly authority, his majesty as he is, he might not be as smart as he thinks he is. So what he'll do is act smarter than he is for all of us peasants, in the hopes that no one realises what he said. Don't forget here, the comment was valid criticism about how he could perhaps handle the situation better.
I want you to think about this. My detractors, right, like to hyper-focus on one small piece of minutia. Okay? Like the smallest, tiniest piece of minutia from something.
I see already we're off to a stellar start of misunderstanding. It's not that they focus or hyper-focus on one tiny piece of minutia, as you yourself have said twice. It's that they found the pressure point and applied enough pressure to get the response from you, which can then be summarily clipped and shared all over social media, because then you in turn hyper-focus with no level of irony onto them. They have achieved their goal. They've done it with ease. And you do this then, your bad moodiness, and apply it to your own audience, those who want to be there, ones who want to support you, because they still have faith, some, that you could change.
It's not significant. It doesn't have any bearing on my content or streams. It's not even anything important. But they hyper-fixate on one small, insignificant thing. Then they blow it up to be important when it's not. They repeat it over and over and over like a cult, ad nauseum, until it becomes a groupthink mentality to say that thing over and over and over. And then to them, it becomes something of significance. It becomes like an empowering term for them.
You do realize, regardless of your mental gymnastics and attempt at using long words or slightly more complicated language, that they only do that because they get the reaction from you, and this is evidence of it. You're giving off the impression you're having a calm moment to properly address, but actually you're hyperfixating on the very thing that they've managed to do to you. Because you can't see, and you've never been able to do this really, you've never been able to see the funny side in anything. You can't take a joke. You have a complete inability to introspect and laugh at yourself. It's very important to be able to do that. I get mocked all the time. It's fine. I might time someone up for a laugh, but it's only a brief thing, as a joke, an in-joke, right? But I know I suck at video games. Well, most of them. My limitations, I accept. And if somebody wants to meme me, that's quite alright. Because if I can't laugh at myself, I become like you. You are a warning. I don't want to be you. I don't think you want to be you either, but you aren't smart enough to just laugh.
Like, oh, we all know what that is. We all know what the steak meme is, so we just say steak and it's funny. In reality, it's not funny, it's not intelligent, it's not even a real meme.
Okay, I'm gonna nix this already. You can't find anything funny, I get it, but steak is always funny. I remember going on what was once called the Ghost Poo podcast and AAA, and we played a game of Steakhouse or Gay Bar, and I replied with everything being a gay bar. Why? Because I thought it was funny. Even if some were steakhouses and the names were quite clearly euphemistic, it didn't matter, because steak. In fact, I set a challenge for my lovely audience, hello, to leave the comment steak down below. Just because. Just write steak. And then after, if you'd like, your favourite kind and the correct way of cooking it. Unless you're one of those weirdos that eats it raw, in which case, just write steak. Because I have a feeling it doesn't matter which cut you have, you're still just going to eat it raw.
It's that they're brain-dead, mentally stunted idiots. They actually just sit there and focusing on something that has no value, and they try to give it value like they're worshipping some kind of a idol, like the golden calf or something.
I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but by you hyper-focusing on them apparently hyper-focusing, you're adding even more importance to steak, which you're right to do. It's up there with bacon. Why? Because bacon. In fact, if you want to win any argument, all you have to do is say, yeah, but bacon. In fact, add to my steak comment that I've requested, tell me how you like your bacon. Correct answers only. Thank you.
Like they think that's important. It's not. Only a moronic idiot would think it is.
So you then, based on the fact that you're the one focusing on it, they've done it for bait to get this clip. You posted this clip to Twitter. It tickled me to no end that you had the balls to think you were smart enough to downplay the hilarity that is steak. I'm not going to deny you doing this makes me think you're even funnier as a lolcow.
So that's why I don't give a f about their dumb memes or whatever they say. That's the thing. Like, you have to understand something. It doesn't matter what I say or do. They'll do it anyway.
That's because you lack the patience to play a long game. You're only interested in short-term gratification, hence the donations that you then go and blow on in-game transactions, microtransactions for mobile games, skins for like WWE games and such, right? You're not interested in the long-term play where if you actually committed to discernible change, they would actually stop. I have no doubt in my mind that when you were a child, you were the type that got bullied, and you deserved it.
Like, if I have absolutely nothing going on, there's no yelling at trolls today, everything's fine, they'll still find shit to talk about because that's what they do. They're completely nuts.
So's the guy making a 4.5 to 5 minute video responding to one comment telling you that if you simply applied some basic changes to your lifestyle and attitude, you'd have less to be concerned about. Instead, you're kind of gaslighting and justifying. It's a bit tragic really, isn't it? Your mentality is any excuse to not do something. That's all it is.
Normal people don't act like that. Normal people don't hyperfixate and go crazy over tiny little things that have no meaning and then turn them into giant blown up things, making mountains out of molehills. It doesn't make sense. Normal people don't have time for that.
But you're not normal people, Phil. You're a streamer. You're social battery and all that, right? Your life is chronically online. It's what you do for a living, and you've done it consistently for a living for a long time. So you don't really have any basis for understanding reality because you're not really a part of what normal people do. You're removed from it. You have been for a long time. And by the way, normal people do this too. They really do. It's just you can't take a joke, and you still, if you go back to the original comment, you have still not properly addressed what they've said. You've just justified what happens because of the trolls. Because you're a glutton for punishment and you know you need them as much as they need you.
The fact that they even said anything about a steak, I don't even remember what that is. I think there was a stream where people were talking about steaks in my chat, and I was upset because I was playing probably like Street Fighter, and I was like, hey, why are you talking about steaks? I'm playing Street Fighter. Why aren't we talking about Street Fighter?
Well, Mr. Narcissist, I can aptly demonstrate and explain why they were talking about steak and not Street Fighter while you were playing it badly. Because you suck at it. And therefore talking about steak is vastly more interesting. For example, there are a number of cuts of steak I've never had before, and I'd very much like to try them. I grew up with the likes of a T-bone steak, but it's from a freezer pack, and it was terrible. I'd like to have one again in the future, but of a higher quality, just to see whether or not I was right that the bone needs to be removed, and I can have the smaller cuts separately. Is a porterhouse the same thing? What's a porterhouse? I've heard this word, and I don't know what it is. Is it wrong to buy a massive rump steak, medium cook it, of course, bay the feck out of it, marinate it in whiskey, slice it up, put it in a foot-long baguette with Stilton, mushrooms, onions, and peppers? If it's not wrong, why has someone not made this for me yet? I haven't had it since Christmas Eve. Thank you. You see what I mean, Phil? There is nothing inherently wrong about discussing steak, especially when the entertainment side of what they've come to watch is embarrassingly bad. You may have been in a bad mood, but that does not justify you being a dickhead, and you are definitely one of those. You're very attention-starved. You weren't the youngest of, multiple children, are you? Or are you even worse? An only child?
Right? And that was it. That was the extent of it. And then they turned that into a meme. It's what is wrong with you? You're a loser. Right?
You do realise by you calling them losers for not wanting to talk about how bad you are at a game, which by the way also not overly difficult to play, you then calling them losers for having a much more interesting discussion makes you look like the loser, right?
So here's the thing. Alright? My trolls have a way of trying to derail my content because they'll come in here with a group to try to derail the chat. They'll come in here with 20 sock accounts out of nowhere and they'll start talking about that no one cares about. And then the normal people are in the chat looking around I want to talk about the stream, but I can't because these idiots are talking about what is this nonsense.
They may well be trolling you with sock accounts. They may well be turning up in droves of groups of non-peoples. You need to think of the positive here. Firstly, a conversation about steak is a worthwhile conversation to have. Second, and quite importantly, additional viewers. Oh, but they're not subs, they're not donating. You're right. But the numbers will certainly look good for you. Thirdly, if your own audience don't like it, then you should address your own audience alone. You are giving fuel to a fire that you yourself are creating. This is proof of it, by the way. If you are smarter, you'd never even make this. You would make changes quietly without anyone noticing, and by doing that, you negate the chance of this fire spreading.
Right? So, it's so dumb. And I don't want to entertain that. So I have the right to shut it down whenever I want, and I have the right to call a moron whenever the f*** I want. The fact is, the way you're talking, oh, well, you should just be completely not super nice to everyone because if you say something wrong, your trolls will emphasize it. My trolls will do that anyway.
Which means that the original comment is still correct. They will keep doing it until they run out of ideas. This is where you're not smart enough to play a long game. It's why you have to beg all the time. It's why you have to act as if you're always right. The trolls will always exist as you call them. They'll always be there no matter what you do, because you never think of how you could be better in the long term. You've been here long enough. I genuinely believe if you actually bother to make a concerted effort to change, they would sod off and leave you alone. But you don't have the nous for it.
I could be the nicest guy on the planet. I could not swear. I could never say anything insulting to anyone, and they would still make the same exact content.
The important word from that is could, because you never do. You don't. You should not. Shan't. Won't. Ever. I say should not. You should, but you won't. You do not have the capacity to do it. You go off on your intellectually stunted trolls who are obsessed over steak, but in this very video you've aptly demonstrated how you are the intellectually stunted one. How you could behave, but you're so defeatist you won't. If you really want to impact change, you have to be the one to lead that change, not your audience.
Why the hell am I going to pussyfoot around and walk on eggshells because my detractors make videos? The detractors can lick my turds.
And thus, the correct move for Phil was found. You see, you can't exist without them because you need them for content, you need them for conversation. They take attention away from the fact that you can't play a video game to save your life. You are terrible. I've watched your stream with no audio on. Yes, I muted the browser entirely, so you wouldn't get anything from it. And I listened, and you really do suck. At this point, I'd be inclined to believe you'd be the only person you could ever meet to game over on Pokemon.
I don't care what they do, they're losers. They're never going to have a meaningful existence. They could all be flushed today and the world would be a better place.
Extra doubt. You need the views. This will give you views, especially when you upload it to YouTube, which you did. You might be a bit more elitist and snobbish towards those detractors or those who go there to wind you up, but they successfully do what they're meant to do, and that is wind you up. Therefore, you need them, because, I'll be honest, if all your detractors were gone, it was just you playing Street Fighter or Zelda, repeatedly failing over and over again, you'd lose your audience, because you need the ones that watch you because you suck, or go there to wind you up because you suck. Flush down the toilet. It's where your career sits, when you're not begging for money.
So why do I give a f about what they say and do and how they react to what I do? No one does, and no one should. It's time for you to stop empowering my detractors.
It's not my fault, guys. It's all your fault. There's a term for that. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. If only I knew or was smart enough. It's all your fault, guys, that Phil gets trolled. You, the lovely people who go and support him. It's your fault you enable him, not Phil's fault. No. Yours. I'll take gaslighting for 10 points.
If you think that anything they do has any meaning or worth, you're an idiot. Get yourself checked in somewhere because you need the help if you think that these moronic actions of these insignificant pieces of human waste matter to me or anyone with a brain between their two ears. Alright?
As you can see, Phil lacks the capacity to introspect, think that maybe he might be in the wrong. It's been many years, in fact, on the platform, and he still pulls these stunts of, well, this. Ultimately, he believes himself above accountability, he believes himself above a joke, but he can't take a joke, especially if the joke comes at the expense of his entertainment. He has a brand to protect, after all, as the internet's worst gamer. Ultimately, this video is one of the dumbest things he could make, because he's just empowered his haters. At the same time, it's one of the smartest things, because it empowers his haters. He needs them, so he can continue to prosper. Right, okay. Thanks for joining, guys. Hope to see you on Twitch later for Star Trucker. Ta-ta.